So what do we do with all this angst as we relate to food? It's fascinating what happens. I remember distinctly how I responded when my best friend died about 9 years ago. She had been ill for a long time, but I had no idea that she was near death. So after the Sunday service, I had preached, and I stopped by her house, and when I got there, I was greeted by her family. They were in tears, and they told me that she was in a coma and that she was dying. I knew that I would never be able to speak to her ever again. So I was heartbroken, and I went home to change clothes and to return to stay with my friend in the time of her dying. And on the way home, I stopped at a restaurant, and I ordered a huge breakfast. And I ate, and I ate, and I ate. Loss triggers hungers of all kinds. It triggers emotional hungers. It triggers sexual hungers. And it often makes us crave food. Eat and live. Eat and live. We're reaching out for life. Our hungering in this culture is often expressed in how we relate to food in various ways. And this relationship surely must be classified as a love-hate relationship. We are obsessed with dieting, and yet we keep getting heavier and heavier. Since we lack control in our lives, we have this fierce desire to control our bodies. And so we impose strict rules on our flesh, rules that unruly flesh cannot and will not obey. We judge others and ourselves harshly if we eat the wrong foods. Are you the kind of person who looks in other people's basket at the grocery store to see what they've chosen? I do sometimes. Surely they're not buying those cookies. No, not those soft drinks, but the worst is white bread. Now, I'm not talking about your Italian loaf, I'm talking about Wonder Bread. Now, if a person comes to me, and confesses, okay, he's been committing adultery, I can understand that human failing. I can forgive that, but I tell you something, when I visit somebody in another part of the country and they serve me bunny bread, I just can't handle it. I just think, you're a bad person. Oh, man. The big judge comes out. Okay. Consider the way we eat. We rush through our meals, the way we rush through our lives. And where we're going, I'm not sure, but we're moving all the time, moving all the time. Do we just have to keep going? Because if we stop and consider, we will fall into despair. We fail to notice, to really be present with our food, and it becomes just a means to an end, just fuel for the furnace, and not something sacred, not a blessing. And then what happens when we cannot bear our emotional emptiness? We eat to fill that emptiness, going back perhaps somewhere to the subconscious, back to that place which gave us our first life, that food that we had at our mother's breast. Eat to live. Eat to live. And yet, food that gives us life has become dangerous, for our very bodies have become commodities. And so we have developed a compulsive concern with the way our bodies are seen and assessed by others. How well we sculpt our errant flesh becomes a measure of the person, becomes a moral issue. The fact is that virtually all women, with very few exceptions, no matter how beautiful they are, women do not like their bodies. I remember once sorting through some old boxes of books, and I came across an ancient Weight Watchers cookbook. And tucked inside it was a faded yellow paper outlining weight loss menus that I must have followed when I was in my 20s before I got married. I looked at that. I was aghast. I was married at the age of 28. I was 5'10", and I weighed only 128 pounds. My wedding pictures looked almost skeletal. I mean, what was I thinking of? No matter what women weigh, we are never thin enough. And now, men are becoming obsessed with their bodies, as I note on these magazine covers at the airport. Men are becoming obsessed with their abs, whatever that is. Don't go there. So food, which comes to us as a gift and a blessing, has become the enemy. Our bodies, our lovely, luscious flesh through which every earthly pleasure is received. Our bodies become symbols of our lack of control, reminders of our frailty, our fallenness. The weight loss industry and the beauty industry have preyed upon our very human fears and have told us over and over again what we have always suspected, that we are lacking. We're lacking somehow, and that we don't deserve to be loved as we are. That is a lie manufactured to get our money for makeup, mouthwash, and fast cars. Nothing more. Guilt has been a part of eating ever since Eve gave the apple to Adam. We feel guilty when we bite into a hamburger and realize we're helping to destroy a rainforest, or when we drink a cup of politically incorrect coffee and acknowledge to ourselves that we are exploiting peasants in South America. I wonder if we can begin to leave guilt behind and begin to pay attention to health of body and health of spirit. I wonder if we can begin to acknowledge which hungers can be met with food and which need to be acknowledged and met in other ways. I wonder if we can move in a positive way toward our real needs in regard to food, to eating what our body tells us we want when we really pay attention to our body.